Hello everyone, Ben here, founder of Pirate Skills. In this Captain's Insights, I want to share my experience with putting all of my meta ads running for our new startup Bridesmaid on a Claude loop, meaning that I can now just talk to my meta ads and it will be able to create new campaigns, optimize them, analyze them deeply, and do this on a repeated cycle without a lot of interference from my end. So let's dig into this. As always, you can read these articles here on pirateskills.com, watch it on YouTube, or listen to it on Apple Podcast or on Spotify. And it all starts with the question like, how was this before for me? I don't know about you, but I've been suffering under meta ads for more than 10 years. They have one of the most clunky, buggy web user interfaces that have ever been created for performance marketers. I think everyone who knows that knows it. And now they finally have announced the Meta Ads MCP, meaning the connection bridge between any AI agent like Claude Code, anything you use in Cursor or in Codex, can now directly communicate with your Meta Ads Manager account. And that makes everything so much easier. Before, it was really hours of clicking in the Ads Manager. I could never truly have the time to set up all of my campaigns as beautiful and precise as I wanted, because I knew I wouldn't have enough time to do it. If I trained beginners in Meta Ads, it was usually, guys, you have to probably invest 6 months of burning your own money to really feel what driving meta ads is like. I would say this comes down maybe to 6 weeks. Now there's nothing that can take away the experience of actually investing and losing and gaining from your own money, but it's much less complex now. You still have to understand what you're doing, but it's more that you need to understand the general ideas and the architectures and not all of the nitty-gritty clicking in the ads manager. And now you can just describe it. You can have a conversation about your campaign, describe the full structure that you want, or make this as a default skill for all of your upcoming campaigns. It is much gentler for beginners, can highly recommend it. Even though, of course, as always, use it with care. There is directly ad spend attached to this. So ensure that you start with low budgets and that you move higher. You will see a nice example that works on a low budget in here. Now, this has unlocked 2 different experiences for me. First, as an experienced marketer, I can now finally do the setup that I wanted. And when I train new performance marketers, I see that they just ramp up way, way faster because the Meta Ads Business Manager is always quite disorienting, for beginners. So let's get into it. How does this work? You have this Meta Ads Manager. You have a million settings that you have to decide what to upload, what text to put where, how to enter tracking variables. The same you have to do on 3 levels. The campaign level, usually deciding what is the objective of your company. Here, in this case, you want to generate leads. If you want to optimize on the campaign or ad set level, that's about it. But then a lot of decisions again on the ad set level here, which conversion events to optimize for. In this case, we wanted to optimize when people register. I'm going to show you the funnel in a second, the budget, the timeline, the location, the specific target groups, and then you have multiple ads that you have to configure. And this is really not a lot of fun, even if you're quite familiar with this. It's a very, very clunky interface that keeps on breaking. And instead, I can now simply do this. I have a chat here for Bridesmaid. This is Claude on desktop in the code version because why not? I don't have a good reason to do this in co-work, because if I see something that I want to change based on the data, I want to have this full context available so I can immediately make changes to the creatives, to the landing page, to the sign-up process, to the analytics setup. And so if I have all of this here in Claude Code, this is one place where the truth comes together. And now I can just say things like, hey, check out the campaign and do a full review. And it does this, what I'm showing you. It assembles the data, it visualizes it for me. It tells me yesterday on June the 14th, it was the first time where we had 3 signups for $11.14 each. Before that, the signups were more expensive, with one exception here, where we had a bit of luck. We have 2 days in which nobody signed up, where we might have had something broken in the ad flow, or where there simply was no sign up from the ads. And it's telling me also what to fix. And I can have a fluent discussion about that. And this is what I want to share with you today. So let's go back to the article and show you like what I'm usually telling the agent, how I communicate and describe the campaign. I usually say something like this. Hey, I want to set up a new conversion campaign and I want to optimize for people who sign up for the event. Let me just show you how that looks like. This is bridesmaid.love. This is our agentic wedding planner, which you can use to visualize your wedding, do research tasks for you, etc. And we create a couple of tools. And the one that is currently in advertising is called the first week after the proposal. And we have all of this in light mode and dark mode and German and English. And this proposes people like, hey, you can chat with our bridesmaid and it will, for example, help you do your budget planning. This is part of a running A/B test that I will reveal next week. And the goal is here that people click as the first step because that leads them to the sign-up process. This now switches to our app domain under app.bridesmaid.love. People sign up with first name, last name, email, and consent. And then they submit this. This is the full registration. This is what we optimize for when we say here on the ad set level, we optimize for complete registration. And these are the four ads that are below this ad set, and they are competing currently for the same budget. Switched it between 20, 50, and 10 euro per day to get in some data, but you get a better overview of what we were testing here. Here are the 4 creatives that we have been using, and you can see that they all look pretty similar. The main difference is the text on them. So why would I do this? Why not cool UGC ads or videos of Christina and me? In the beginning, I try to focus on which of my core messages is working the best. And so far, this idea of yes was the easy part is the best. And the idea behind it in my mind is at the moment that future brides read this and say like, they are right. I got a proposal, big milestone, but now I have this mountain of work. I'm looking for assistance. I don't know where to start. And then there are other tries to say something similar, like don't call the venues yet. You can stop figuring it out on your own. It's not a wedding checklist. It's your full plan. And I can test these different message types that target different pains and gains for the audience and get hard results back on that. These creatives were also fully generated by an image generation model, the classical Nano Banana 2. I also prefer now creating my creatives fully here from text to image and not doing any iterations like on a tool like Canva, adding the text there, because it just takes way longer from the process and doesn't usually allow the AI to do the full process. Later, we will animate this. We will do other types of ads where Christina and I will be in front of the camera, combine those ideas and tell a story behind it and see if that improves the conversion rates further. But in the beginning, just a couple of static creatives do the trick. Now, when I tell the agent that I want this, it's going to ask me a couple of questions. And since I already did a lot of the analytics setup last week, which you can check out in last week's article here, I linked it, all of the conversion tracking stuff is already happening. So I can see if people consented, if they converted or not. Very important. And so we clarified these questions and voila, the ad campaigns were fully set up by the agents as you see them here. Let me show you from the campaign level. This is, as I said, very early stages. This was the first iteration of the campaign, and this is the second iteration. And we can see some money has been spent. 10 conversions have been tracked in Meta Ads, but there are actually more conversions that are in the database because we only track the Meta Ads conversion when people consent. But when you look here in our database, this is Neon, this is just another table, and all of these starting from here to here are 100% from the Meta Ads. So 16 in truth, 10 being recorded here by Meta. Also something we can now solve by having the agent not only look at the Meta Ads results, but also at the database and at our web analytics. But the most important thing in the beginning for me is testing like what clicks. So if I look at all of my ads and then let's just sort by clicks, I can see that different ad campaigns have different click-through rates. And this topic of yes was the easy part is performing really well in the second generation that we created. And I also see a certain progression, but there are also ads that never performed really well, or they are just having a high click-through rate, but they are not causing real registrations. I can always check in the database where exactly they came from, and you can see only 2 came from not a checklist, and everyone else came from yes is the easy part, and Meta thinks it's 3 conversions and 7. So it's similar, but this is the truth, and this is what Meta thinks is the truth. But all of the other ideas sucked so far. So we need to improve the copywriting game for this. Now let's go back to the article. And you understand, I can just say that, can use a prompt like this that I prepared for you. Hey, help me set up the MCP, help me set up a campaign, do the full structure, do the review, and then you finally launch it yourself. I also had a bit of trouble uploading the ad creatives, the images or videos to the ad campaigns, but there were always nice workarounds. I currently upload them to what is called for sale blob storage. And after it's uploaded, I delete them from that again. What it essentially needs a place on the web where I can fully access it publicly, the images and the ads for this. So let's continue. Now we have set up the campaign. It's running for a couple of days, but how is it going? You can now use the same Meta Ads MCP and see what is actually working and what is not working. And here you have to understand what Meta can see and what it cannot see. Meta can see what clicks the best. Meta can also see, if we go over here, what, if you consider the consent limitation, has the most registrations complete. And I have an additional event called content view, which is the start of the registration. So when a person is on the landing page, if they click this button, this is another conversion event called content view. And then when they sign up successfully, it is the sign up event, the complete registration event. And Meta has a limited view. The database doesn't know anything about any click events, but they know who signed up and who did not. And there's also another advantage. You can see that there are a couple of lines that are empty. Here, there was no campaign data for 1, 2, 3, 4. But I know for a fact that there is 0 other traffic channels currently working alongside. So this must be natural word of mouth or like social organic sharing, because those people also started on the home page and not on the landing page. You can see this here, for example, they didn't have any starting point. They started on the home page and they didn't go through the normal first week lead magnet landing page like the others. So I know that even though the ads are not attributed to these campaigns, I know 100% they come from these campaigns. And it's a good sign for me that people are starting to talk about this app. And this is just something that Meta has no chance of seeing, but your agent has a good chance. And then the agent can also make a call by saying like, okay, ran it for $100. How about we stop running these campaigns if they don't produce more and more results? It can pause campaigns, ad sets, it can scale budgets down and up. It can create competitive campaigns, etc. And as you can see from the screenshot, this is pretty much very close to what you see here live on my Claude Code environment. But here I can scroll and ask additional questions, of course. I can get myself a report no matter which way I want. Here, for example, I want to see a day-by-day ad spend and cost per sign-up and how many sign-ups were there during this. Of course, this is more interactive. So here I can see on this day, there was 3 signups at 11:14. So I spent about 33 euros. So far my favorite day. And it's good that it's one of the good ones. But I'm worried about those 2 days. I don't understand why they did not convert any people. Maybe it was because it's a Wednesday and Thursday. Yeah, we might learn that brides are easier to convert on the weekend than in the week. We do not know yet. And on the right-hand side, you can see that it's writing itself a little journal. And this journal is extremely helpful for the AI and for me to see what it's doing, the changes it's making, the reasoning, the corrections we made, also like on the landing pages, in the A/B tests, in the sign-up process. So there is full transparency of the development. This is something like no one has time for if you were, for example, doing this professionally, like in an agency. No chance any one of your employees would have time for that. Should they all be doing this, writing a progress journal for every single account? Sure. Are they going to do it? No chance. Not in this world. So we can now see, clicks are not customers, clicks are not signups yet. We can use the agent to pull the data together from multiple sources with this prompt. Only take this prompt as like a starter thing, adjust it to your own needs, and then save your own versions. But this is truly brilliant. This is how you can now optimize the campaigns. I'm going to show you also how the agent is able to see beyond the obvious, not just here, oh, there are good click-through rates, there are bad click-through rates, like we see here. The truth is usually much deeper in the funnel. And if we see it, the agent can see it, we can make together much more confident decision and optimize faster to come finally to profitable campaigns. So next part, we can now do this regularly on a schedule. Claude calls these loops. Some other tools like Codex call them goals. There are different versions of this functionality, like schedules, etc. At the end of the day, it is a regular occurrence where this type of review process is happening. It wakes up. Let's say for me, I set it up for 8 a.m. in the morning. So when I start my day, I have a current briefing of what happened yesterday and last night. And then I do it 12 hours again, like around 8 p.m. And then it runs it again. And I can have like a last day check-in into this because I have a habit of checking my campaigns in the evening one more time. Before that, I had a habit of doing this on Monday, on Thursday. Not twice a day. I would say twice a day is still overkill. But doing this once a day now has really improve the speed at which I learn. Then it pulls the 3 sources, Meta, the database, and our web analytics tool, which is called PostHawk. It can reconcile and judge the results. It can then propose what to act on within your limits. If I wanted it, I could let it scale up and down the ad budget in certain reasons, or I could just ask it to propose changes to me, which is what I do at the moment, most of the time. It depends on how much rope you want to give it. In the beginning, I suggest to keep the rope a bit shorter, be very interactive in these sessions. Also, no need to use the loop. You can just trigger this manually just by asking for it, and then later putting it on a loop when you become more confident with it. And then it writes its journal entry, so it's remembered across multiple sessions. Even if the context window is full, I want to start a new session or something went wrong with the session, I can just start a new one. The journal brings the agent back up to date, and the skill ensures that it's gathering the data from the right places. All right, so this is what you can do. Now, what has this agent found in the loop in the first weeks. There are a couple of things that I ask it to analyze. There are 3 findings I found very, very interesting here. Again, let me show that to you in the live version. Here is where I had the normal weekly review with the suggestion. There was maybe a problem with signups on 10 and 11. I don't believe it. I just think those days sucked for ads. Then there was second priority, unblock the creative test. There is most of the budget is going to one creative, which is totally normal with Meta Ads. It tries to go with the one that works the best. But sadly, this often means that not all test creatives get money or enough money to even be judged, good or bad. So this I could definitely change in our upcoming campaigns by just telling Meta, hey, I want to ensure that each ad creative is on its separate budget. And what it will do, it creates just one big campaign, optimize that to be budget optimized on the ad set level, so a level deeper. And then there's going to be just one ad creative, 10 euro per day for this creative, 10 euro per day for this creative, and so on. And then we will have even ad spend, and then we can do message testing faster. That is not best practice in terms of like scaling campaigns later. This is where we want to put multiple together, let them run and fight. But for testing purposes, I like these kind of setups. Then we need to close the gap. I went out and said, I want to have a cost per sign up of 5 euro. This is my target. Now I already spent 300 euro and my best day, at least like the best current day, was 11 euro. There was one with 9 as well, but I still need to halve my customer sign-up costs, or like my free trial sign-up costs. And I need to make bigger moves than just changing the creatives here and there a little bit. So it's good to call this out. Then I ask it, hey, let's dig a bit deeper. Let's really find where we are losing people and what we learned over the time in this whole journal. Let's just scroll through so you see how much happened in here already. So, and there are wonderful insights in here. So the first insight that I really liked, let's go back to the article, is a fake winner. So in the beginning, when we looked at the creatives, there was one ad that had a better click-through rate and a higher and a lower cost per click than our best performer, which is this one. So let me show you, which I mean. This one was actually the best, but we had a competitor that was around like, let me ask you 6 questions. And it actually had better click-through rates, so more people clicked on it, which resulted in cheaper clicks. But it created 0 signups. Also, the other ad I tested with the vendor email preparation. So we paused both. And we learned, even though the yes is the easy part was not the best clicking one, it was up to date. Still my best, most consistent message that I test. And I need to double down on that. But if I had looked only at the ads data on the click level, what lots of people do before they do proper conversion tracking, which we discussed last week, we would have said there are much better clicking ones, but not always better converting ones. And we only care about conversions. And I can also right away tell you, after I've solved sign up, the next big problem will be customer engagement on the ad. And then the big problem will be converting them from free trial to paid. So the journey keeps on iterating. So this was a great insight that is obvious for me to see, but a lot of people who do this for the first time, they do not see this. So I wanted to call this out. The second one is what the AI called the ghost problem. So out of 26 signups, 15 people never sent a single message. What do we mean by message? Let me show this to you in the lead magnet. You have an agent that you can work with, and then there's a starter prompt that starts the conversation when you come from this lead magnet, but then the agent says something, the user says something back, and it keeps on iterating like you would expect, like on a ChatGPT, but specialized for wedding planning. And 15 people, so more than half, did not send one of those messages, so that they didn't get real value from the product. There might be a technical reason for that. There might be that this is just not high value enough. It might be that I didn't explain clearly enough that this is an agentic solution, and they might not like that, for example. And 11 people did this, and 6 people wrote more than 15 messages. 15 messages in one conversation. That is a lot. And that is very, very fascinating to me. So we see when people get activated, they really like it. But if they don't get activated, they just drop out, and this is my next big problem to solve. Then there was a third finding, the sign-up leak. Over the last 14 days, 51 people began the sign-up and only 24 finished. I think this is already overestimating this already. Every sign-up today is an email only. The working hypothesis is if we had like Google and Apple one-tap signups, that this will improve. So what do I mean by that? People go here, but then they don't convert because they see, oh shit, I have to give my personal data. It feels a bit like a bait and switch. And we might consider how we solve it by maybe giving them access before asking for the account. Maybe they're allowed to write 5 messages. If they want to write more messages, then they're going to be like seeing a modal to sign up. This would be fine for me as well. But for now, I would like to keep it that way, but add like a Google and Apple sign up here. And I hope the conversion rate increase here. I also keep a very close eye on this because I said from the beginning, like this is probably one of the biggest weaknesses here. And so I created myself a dashboard inside of Post-Talk, my favorite analytics tool. And here I can see starting, and I explained this last week a bit more detail, 42% of people are consenting to being tracked. The other ones run an anonymized session within Post-Talk that runs completely cookieless, which allows us to track it. But beyond that, these are only the consenting people. And at the moment, 58 of people who are on the landing page actually start the sign-up process. This is a huge amount. This is really, really a lot. Why is it a lot? Because imagine you're just coming from a cold ad, you read this, and over half of the people are clicking. They want to get the thing we promised them. So the lead magnet does not suck. But then, bummer. They see this window where you have to sign up, and then over 70% jump off, and over only 30% continue here. So that really sucks. So we have to improve this overall. And then we see how many people do actual messages here, and this needs to improve as well, of course. You see, these numbers are sometimes out of line. The database knows the truth. Something like Post-Talk only has a consent-limited view, and something like Meta Ads only has a consent-limited view. But your agent doesn't care about that. It can pull together the data, judge them, consolidate them, and get you much, much, much closer to the truth. So I learn here, I need to solve this sign-up leak. And after that, I need to solve the ghost problem. So making it easier for people to interact. So that is it. You can now put this agent on a loop or do it manually once a day, and you can learn so much faster than I normally could. This is a time frame of around 10, 11 days. I think with that little time investment, I've never learned so much so fast for a brand new startup. And now it's up to me to sit down with Christina, record new creatives, improve the sign-up funnel, make it easier for users to engage so that they really feel the experience. And then we have to solve the big one, how to convert them from free trial to paid. And I'll keep you up to date for that. There's also an interesting A/B test going on right now here inside of my Post-Talk account. Here you can see that I'm testing a version that has the lead magnet presented a bit differently. And let's update the most current numbers. And right now, it has a 51% difference between the new version has 8 conversions and the control has 5. This is not yet statistically significant, but it's a good direction. And if we look at how many people actually click on the sign up button, We see the results are a bit closer, plus 16%, but in general, it's clear that the A/B test is doing a job. The A/B test is allowing me to show users who click the same link on ads 2 different versions. Here it's showing the chat conversation, but if I put in the parameter which forces the original version, here they see a preview of the 7-day plan. And I thought this would be the best version, but people didn't click enough. So I created the A/B version, which turned out to be significantly better. And after this experiment is over, I'll orient myself towards the sign-up process. And this will be probably the main topic of the upcoming article. That's it from that. Have fun with the Meta Ads MCP, have fun with Anthropic's Claude loops, or on Codex, or wherever you want to use this. This is pretty much available everywhere. And what you need is to have this broad understanding that this article gives you. You can also point your agent to it if you want to replicate something like that. And then you can have this set up for yourself. This is one of the many workflows that I do that now are running this way. I thought I was pretty deep in the AI matrix, but this really opened up my mind to more and more workflows running this way. And if you want to learn more about all of this stuff, we discuss this. Every Wednesday, we have a live event called the Pirate Lab, where we discuss the latest insights. Once a month, we do this offline in Cologne. If you're nearby, I would love to see you there. Every quarter, we do it as a big hackathon. And also every quarter, we have what we call the Pirate Forge, which is 6 weeks of learning to vibe code your first SaaS and 6 weeks of learning to vibe market that app. And here, this is clearly a part of the vibe marketing and what you can expect to get out of this. All right. I hope this was of interest to you. Let me know in the comments what you would love to hear more about in future videos. And until then, I see you in the next one. Bye-bye.